Hello, everybody. I wanted to cover a few things today, but the main purpose of this video is a question I got asked the other day with some new clients of mine. These clients are first-time home buyers, have never bought anything before in their life, and they were wondering, well, what happens if we find a place? How do we make an offer on it, and what do we do? And I thought that'd be a really good topic to cover today. What do you do when you find a property that you like? Are the steps you take to actually make an offer on a house and hopefully get it accepted? So there's a few steps that we'd look at, and the first step is always to get your pre-approval arranged with your mortgage broker or your bank. A pre-approval is essentially what it sounds like. You submit your uh, financing requirements to the lender, your credit score, your job, your income, that type of thing. And what that mortgage broker or banker will do is be able to give you a pre-approval based on what your income is and what your debt is. An excellent reason to see a mortgage professional in advance is they will give you an idea of how much you can actually go out and afford. So they'll give you a budget in which to work with. So now you can really narrow your focus specifically on the types of properties that you like and the price range that it falls in. One more good thing about the mortgage broker is she or he will be able to give you what's called a rate hold. A rate hold means that uh, whatever interest rate you're approved on that day, they'll be able to hold for you for usually up to 120 days. Meaning that if the interest rates generally go up during that time frame, provided that you find a home and purchase it during that 4-month rate hold period, your interest rates won't increase. They might go up for everybody else, but your rate hold will be protected during that time frame. However, if you haven't found a place during that 4-month time frame, you will need to be subject to whatever the new rates are. So just bear that in mind. So step one is always get pre-approved with your mortgage broker. Step two, once you do find the house, now's the time to sit down with your real estate agent and study the market. And what you're studying for is you're trying to find comparable houses, or condos or townhouses, whatever it is, whatever is closest to the subject property of what you're looking at. So say, for example, you find a 3-bed, 2-bath home in say, Fairfield, and the asking price is, say, 900,000. What you're going to do is look at recent sales within that neighborhood or within a few kilometer radius that are similar in size, similar in layout and overall condition. So you're going to see what's actively on the market right now that's for sale and what has sold recently. And you're going to take those numbers of the properties that have sold or for sale now, and you're going to compare it to the house that you like and see if the numbers make sense. Is this house, in your opinion and the realtor's opinion, at fair market value, or do we feel it's maybe priced a little high? That's really going to tell us a lot as to what you should offer for it. One other thing I would note with that is you want to see how long it's actually been on the market for. If a house takes 30 days to sell, is it within that 30-day time frame, or has it been, say, 3 months? That might indicate to you that maybe either the price is too high or perhaps there's something wrong with the property. So once you found some comparable properties, yourselves and your realtor will get an idea on whether it's priced accurately or if there's room to negotiate. After that part, you want to find out if you can, and this is normally where your realtor will help you, is see what the seller's preferred dates are. And what I mean by that is, when would the seller ultimately like to move out by? Is it 2 months from now, 30 days from now? Is a quick closing preferable or something longer? If you can work within the seller's ideal time frame, that's often a great place to start because there might be more room to negotiate price, provided that your dates line up to what the seller's looking for. And if they don't line up, you can only do so much, but just try that first if you can. So after that, you're going to conclude what your actual offer price is. Yourselves and your realtor will figure out what your offer price is going to be. And now there's a few different strategies to this. You can obviously offer the asking price of what they're looking for and try and make it a quick negotiation. My experience is that a lot of people like to negotiate a little bit when it comes to price. And so that would be the next topic, is where do you offer? Is it within a few percent of what the asking price is, or are you going to try a really low offer and see what the seller comes back at? There's pros and cons to every approach, and I think that could be a topic for another time, especially when we're dealing with, what's considered a low offer and what's considered a fair offer, because it can be different for every situation. So in your offer, you're going to have your price that you want to offer. You're going to include your dates of when you want to actually move into the place. And then you're going to have what they call conditions, or your subject tos. Conditions or subject tos it's your due diligence, meaning that your offer is typically subject to you getting your financing finally approved on the house itself. Yes, you've had your pre-approval done already, but the bank or the lender needs to look at the actual purchase of the contract price of the property. They might order an appraisal on it to make sure that it's within a fair market range. And so you always want to have a subject to financing included in your offer. A lot of people would like to include a condition of getting a house inspection performed, and I would wholeheartedly recommend you do include that sort of condition. Getting a third party in the house to take a look at it to see what some potential hidden dangers could be, very highly recommended. And a price for that's usually around $600 to get a home inspection done, but definitely well worth it for peace of mind. So financing, subject to inspection. We look at the title documents to make sure that there's nothing on the title that we need to be aware of, such as a right-of-way or covenants or anything along those lines. Again, that could be a topic for another day, but we definitely want to have the title reviewed. You want to have your insurance looked at, and anything else that we might think would be important to this. But these are your pretty standard conditions. So once you finalize that with your realtor, then your offer is submitted to the seller. And at that time, the seller and their realtor will review your offer and decide what they should do with it. Do they feel it's a fair offer, or do they want to maybe look at it a little bit more closely and come back with a counter offer of their own? So a couple things can happen. Either A, it'll be accepted, which would be terrific. More often than not, there could be a counter offer back from the seller. And what the typical things that a counter offer would be they might be countering the price. Perhaps they'd like to see a little bit of a difference in the price of what they would agree to. Terms and conditions can also be countered back. So dates is always a hot topic. Can there be some wiggle room for dates? So expect that. And then the third thing that could happen is if they could just flat out reject it. Now, my experience is if the seller is going to just flat out reject it, it's usually because they feel that them and yourself might be too far apart in terms of price. This can be a pitfall when you're looking at doing low ball offers. The seller can sometimes just feel that there's just too much difference between what they want and what you're offering for them to be able to bridge the gap. So sometimes in those instances, you could get a flat out rejection, which at that point you would need to decide if you're willing to perhaps strengthen your offer and come back with another round. So once you and the seller have come to terms, price is good and conditions are good, at that point, your next step is completing your due diligence. We would submit the offer to your mortgage broker, and then we'd begin arranging the property inspection. Typical time frame to get your due diligence done is usually between 7 days to maybe 10 days. It can be a little bit longer depending on the circumstances, maybe up to 14 days max is pretty typical. Beyond that would be considered a little bit longer. So ideally a seller would like to see about 7 to 10 days within that ballpark. Okay, so what happens during your due diligence period? What happens if, say, your financing doesn't go through? Well, if your financing doesn't go through, you have the option to cancel the offer based on the condition of financing not coming together. That's usually a big reason as to why offers can sometimes fall apart. Another reason what can happen to an offer sometimes is perhaps the inspection doesn't go very well. So what can happen during a home inspection? Well, I haven't seen too many perfect house inspections. There's always something that comes up. A lot of the time it's manageable maintenance things that you just need to be aware of as a home buyer. When you buy the home, just things to keep an eye on. However, if there are bigger ticket items, say there's issues with the foundation or the roof has issues or you found mold or whatever the case may be, you have a few options at that time. You can simply walk away from the offer based on not having a positive home inspection report. You might be able to ask the seller to make repairs for you prior to you taking possession. At that time, we would simply amend the contract where the seller would agree to make the recommended repairs to the property. But what usually happens is renegotiation of price. So, for example, if you have a roof issue, which is going to cost, say, $10,000, you might be able to go back to the seller at that time and say, hey, listen, we really like the house. We found some issues with the roof that we weren't quite prepared for. It's going to cost somewhere around $10,000. Do you think there could be some negotiation in the selling price? Can we amend the selling price to some degree? If the seller, is on side with you, they might agree to that. They might not agree to the full amount. They might agree to meet you halfway, for example. That can happen, or maybe 30% or whatever the case may be. But you do have the option, provided that the seller is on board, to perhaps renegotiate your price. Okay, so what if we get to the point where house inspection is good, financing is arranged, and all your other little due diligence items are good? At that point, you decide that you want to fulfill the offer, and we do what's called removing conditions. Removing conditions essentially means that on paper, you're saying that I've satisfied my conditions, I'm comfortable moving forward with the property. Once that's submitted to the seller, now it's a bona fide agreement. Deposit at that point is usually required. So I haven't touched on deposit too much quite yet, but anytime you are purchasing a property, a deposit is expected to be part of your offer. In Victoria, we don't necessarily need to include a deposit right away. That's going to change next year. Early next year, there will be a deposit requirement at the time of the offer, but I will brush on that topic when that time comes. But for now, a deposit would be submitted after your conditions are removed. The deposit amount, there's no set amount here. It's highly negotiable. Most of the time, we usually recommend around 5% of the purchase price, but it can be less than that. It can be more of that. It really does depend. So once that's done, you've removed conditions, your deposit has submitted. At that point, we're really just now waiting for the completion date. And the completion date is when the actual money is transferred from yourselves to the seller and ownership is transferred from the seller onto you. You will need to have either a lawyer or notary assist you with that conveyance. Typical cost is usually around $1,700. Could be a little less, could be a little bit more, but that's a good ballpark rate, and they will do the actual transfer of paperwork for you. So I hope that helps. It gives you a little bit of an overview on the market and how you write an offer on something. If you'd like some more information on this, you are more than welcome to reach me back at 250-686-8989. You can send me a message through Facebook or email me, nick@nickhonor.com. Okay, you guys, I will chat with you another time. Bye for now.